everybody. Bob Ufer here in the chilly snake pit of Columbus, Ohio.
Elliott has the first down and more, and Elliott's going to have a touchdown.
Carr, watch out! Blake Carr, blazing speed. Can he get there? No, but he's down at the Ohio State 11.
Samuel cuts it back. Ohio State wins.
Stroud in trouble, and Stroud is sacked again.
There's nothing quite like the game.
Michigan versus Ohio State, the game of the day, the game of the year, the game of the decade. Call it what you will.
This is The Rivalry, sponsored by Elevated Integrity Construction.
This is the Rivalry Podcast. Jace, JP, your garbage-free college football podcast focused on the Ohio State-Michigan football rivalry. On Twitter, at RivalPod. On Instagram, at 1049 The River. Big thanks to Elevated Integrity Construction for sponsoring Season 4 of the podcast. Home build, church build, not only the construction, but the design element as well. You got a project, go with integrity. ElevatedIntegrity.com. That's ElevatedIntegrity.com. Run ourselves a little wheel route. Why don't you? JP, how are you feeling?
I had this ready so fast today. Can we talk about that? Almost as fast as Rutgers' hopes and dreams died this weekend.
You're doing great, sweetie. Player you want to watch the most?
Okay.
Is that for this weekend? We don't have any stipulations on these ever.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say this upcoming weekend.
Okay, sure. You
this
go
slate
first.
Of games.
Go ahead.
You know my answer.
Is it Cade Stover?
Give me Farmer Gronk, baby.
You gotta pick someone different.
Go. I don't think you understand how much joy I had this weekend.
I think I do.
Catching 2 touchdown passes. That, mind you, the first game I did not go to because all the other ones, those have been the only games he scored in. And so he got out of the habit now. He's scoring all the time.
So now he doesn't even need you.
I wouldn't say that.
Man, they just grow up so fast.
They do.
You know?
Oh, man. Let's go. Cade Stover. Easy answer.
I mean, I could go with the easy answer for Michigan, but I'm going to go with Michigan's opponent.
Okay, all right.
I am really excited to see Chase Brown. I want to see. Well, I think I'm excited to see Chase Brown because I don't think he's going to have a lot of success.
Well, he also went down, which we will get to later.
I missed that. I missed that in my notes. That seems like a significant development. Tommy DeVito is the new player.
Illinois fans would also be super pumped to see Chase Brown.
Wouldn't that be something? We'll jump to that here in a second. Cool. Good job, me. Good prep this week. Let's start with Ohio State because they've got a weaker game coming up this weekend. Probably.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
How's Indiana these days? Are they good?
The Hoosiers?
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Oh,
I mean, can you take away anything from this game?
No, it is literally exactly what I thought was going to happen. I thought Ohio State was going to come out. Their offense was going to be what it was earlier in the year. There was stuff that I wrote down in my notes that's concerning for the future. Like obviously Henderson didn't play. You also still were without Smith and Jigba, which at this point, he's not playing.
And if he does, is that actually helpful?
And I don't think so because I think you're gearing up for the biggest games. You have Maryland this week, which regardless, I mean, you can say whatever and we'll get into the Maryland stuff, but then you have the game. And if you win that, you have the Big Ten championship and then you're in the playoffs. And those, I just don't think he would be so out of rhythm at that point.
You would sure think so, right?
I just don't know. You've gotten there without him. It's almost better for his future as well, to just let him sit out and just be a teammate and support him.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, I would declare for the draft immediately.
Wow, of course you would.
I would just shut it down for the season.
But the only stuff I took away from this of any concern is Henderson didn't play. He's been kind of injury prone a little bit this year. Mayan Williams went down again, didn't end up dressing past halftime, I believe. He was in regular clothes.
Which is hard to tell if that's a shut it down for the game or if that's a sustainable.
They said he had an injury, and when we were at Penn State, he got injured and was out, and it seems like he's got something lingering. That's
he's not fully healthy.
He's not fully healthy, so they had to bring in true freshman Dallin Hayden, who still rushed for 100 yards on 19 carries. I mean, still had a game.
Even he was a little bit gimpy getting up near the end.
But it's Indiana, and how much can you take away from that? The only thing I took away is that is a concern for me heading into the game, where you're 1 and 2 running backs, which at the beginning where you're two-headed monster, and you're without them on an already lacking running game. That is my one concern. Everything else I was fine with. Giving up 14 points is whatever. Scoring 56 is exactly what I expect out of this Ohio State offense on basically a weekly basis. And so there's nothing else other than that is my concern, and something to watch is how injured are they? Is one of them going to be available? And if so, I might even sit both of them to give them that rest to come into the game. I'm not sure where I land on that. I just don't know if it's worth it. They are more valuable playing in the game than this game.
I don't disagree with that. I think if your guys are healthy, you've got to get them on the field, and you have. It depends on how the game flow goes, right? Like if you're in a rough and tumble match, you're going to play your guys. If you're up big second half, there's no reason to. I'm with you on I expect to see one of or both of them this weekend. And again, I'm not super into, what the injury report is right now on the Ohio State side, but I'd expect one or both of them to give it a go. But I agree. It's concerning. Their health is concerning on a team that is struggling to run the football.
It's been something that's been happening off and on all season long.
It's not like they're struggling to run the ball on like really good defenses. It's anybody that they've played.
Although this week they did have 200.
They did have a great running game.
Well, and I think even last week they still had 200 rushing yards as a team. I mean, I still don't buy the run game, and I think that the health of running backs is going to. That could be a big story. It could be a big story because it makes your team a lot more one-dimensional. Now, that one dimension is pretty good. I'm not mad about it.
But it does make you one-dimensional. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Maryland this week, Taulia Tagovailoa is just not been the same after the injury. He doesn't look like himself. 30-0, 31-0 to Penn State. This is going to be a long day.
Lost to Wisconsin 23-10, lost to Penn State 30-0. Both of those games, he didn't even have 80 yards passing.
It's not good.
If you look at everything prior, he's 250, 300 yards. I mean, just absolutely balling. And the past 2 weeks, it's just not been there, which makes me weirdly nervous that this will be the week where he would break out of that. But I hope not. I hope it continues because that would be amazing. But there is a part of me that thinks he's too good of a player to keep that streak going.
Like it's going to hit eventually.
He's going to be back to his old self. I still don't think that's nearly enough to beat Ohio State.
No, it's not.
I've got the final score of this one. It's a 3:30 at ABC. Ohio State's 27.5 point favorites. I got it 42-13.
It's not far off. 49-20. I mean, the same difference.
It depends what Tagovailoa shows up.
Yeah, and Maryland will probably find a way to score a few points. I mean, Indiana managed 14. I expect Maryland to do a little better than that, but this won't be a game. Maryland's got some play. It's the same thing. Maryland's got some playmakers on offense, but even a healthy Tagovailoa, look at the way they played Michigan at the beginning of the year. Even at their healthiest, Maryland was never really Michigan was never really in danger of losing that football game to Maryland. That was at their best. There's late November Maryland banged up like this. I clicked on Maryland Penn State highlights, and the video was 2 minutes long, and it was just Nick Singleton carrying a Maryland defender for 25 yards as on his way into the end zone. And that's pretty much what you're going to see this weekend, I think. 49-20 Ohio State. Before we switch over to Michigan here, let's make Rutgers a good transition point. Rutgers to the Rose Bowl. What do you got your Rutgers flag there? What are you doing, man?
I can no longer.
What are you doing?
I can no longer display this. I feel
the
like
Rutgers flag?
Because it's a funeral.
It's not a funeral yet.
The season is dead.
It's not
They're
yet,
not beating Penn State or Maryland.
You don't know that.
I've seen enough Rutgers games. So if I could get a little trumpet as I lower the flag, please.
Okay, I'm going to hope we can do that in post because I ain't trying that. You just went for it. Okay. Are you just lowering it? Does it at least stay at half mast? No, it's all the way down. Okay.
Done.
So would you say then that you were disappointed in Rutgers' performance?
So here's the thing. And I talked about this beforehand. This was one of the games that we said last week Rutgers had to win.
It's a must
Absolute
win.
a must win. They're not beating Penn State.
Well,
they're not.
Okay.
They're not beating Penn State.
We'll see.
And then they have Maryland, and that's
Maryland's
it.
Maryland's a
They
toss-up.
have to win. But they have to beat Penn State, which isn't happening. So at best, Rutgers has a chance to maybe go 1-1. I just think Maryland's a better team than Michigan State is. So I think they're going to lose out.
That's disappointing because we followed this journey all year,
and it's tough because
we started so high, man.
You can look at when you're playing Delaware, whatever, and
don't sleep on the Blue Hens.
Hey, is that who they are?
Probably.
No, I think we looked it up. It was like whoever they played were like the Red Devils or Blue Devils or something.
That was UConn. That was Eastern Connecticut. Big fan.
Yes.
Big fan of econ.
A disappointing season. You finally got to see Wimsatt kind of let loose. He had a good game. But it's just there's no other words.
A good football team.
No,
let's not beat around those.
No,
and trash football program.
Offensively, the defense took some steps forward this year. Next year is the telling year for Greg Schiano for me. And I know people in that program love him. He is like the Urban Meyer to them because of what he did previously. But right now he's going into, I think this might be his third year. I think next year would be his fourth. You're starting to get your own guys in there. I need to see an NCAA Division I quarterback take the helm. I can't watch another season of football games where it ends with our passing quarterback under 100 yards. To me, that needs to be a standard that is just unacceptable.
Would you say running a tight end at quarterback is not the optimal way to run your offense? And also
trying to give him the nickname Johnny Football is a monstrosity to the game. I do, though, because I did say that I was going to do this. My birthday was this past weekend. My phenomenal father-in-law knows my passion for Rutgers sports, decided to get me some of these.
We can't. Oh my gosh!
I'll make it work. A camera somewhere.
Those Rutgers slides.
They absolutely are. A camera's picking them up from somewhere.
That's It's like instead of going to a bowl game where you get like a PS5 and a bunch of swag,
I'll get more use. I'll get more use out of it.
That's like, hey, you guys played a football season. And you had a football program that scored some points.
Some would say we didn't really play football. Other teams did, and we just kind of were there.
But you were there, and that's exciting.
And now it looks like the only way Rutgers gets to the Rose Bowl is to buy a ticket like everybody else.
Listen, that's still something. We didn't say how they were getting to the Rose Bowl. We just said that they would be there.
We got you on a technicality, and you didn't even know.
Ha! Got him. Anyway, Rutgers is trash, and they're going to lose.
It's not just a game, it's the game. You're listening to The Rivalry.
Let's talk about Michigan.
Okay.
Michigan, this game against Nebraska, by the way.
Snooze fest.
Yeah. Pause. I picked 49-20 for Ohio State over Maryland. What did you have? 42-13, something like that?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, your prediction on Twitter at RivalPod or on Instagram at 1049 The River. We'll hook you up with an Amazon gift card just for giving a score prediction. As always, doesn't have to be good, just has to be a prediction for either the Ohio State or Michigan game this weekend. Snooze Fest is absolutely
hard
the
to
way
watch.
I mean, obviously a huge Michigan fan. I was bored.
Yeah.
But I'll say this though. I would rather be bored as you beat a team by 31 than be bored and watch your team get blown out. An absolutely dominant performance for Michigan that I could have slept through. Yeah. Michigan actually kind of looked like they were sleepwalking through half of that and still covered the spread. The largest spread in Nebraska football history, and Michigan covered it and looked like they half cared while they did it. No complaints from me. There's really no complaints there. Tongue-in-cheek aside, I think the one concern, and this is an easy one if you're a Michigan fan or follow the Michigan beat, the one concern is actually the passing game coming out of that game, which has not been a major concern for me.
Hasn't needed to be.
And it really doesn't need to be per se, but there were a number of plays where JJ missed a deep ball, which again, I watched Bo Nix miss a couple deep balls over the weekend too. Like I'm not concerned about that per se, but it's that pattern, right? Where you can't quite dial in that deep ball. And really more than that, it was receivers not getting separation. Cornelius Johnson lets a bomb pass go through his hands. What are you doing? Andrew Anthony can't get separation all of a sudden. It was frustrating to watch a very talented Michigan team, because we've seen their talent on offense, even from the passing game in those little bursts where they've needed it. It was frustrating to watch a talented Michigan team feel like they were just missing on some fundamentals. Like, you are a better offense than they are defense. You should be able to get separation here. You should be able to do X, Y, Z. That was really the major concern. I don't think it's as bad as some of the pundits and even some of the Michigan faithful are making it out to be. But I also don't think that the offense is nearly as good as some of us made them out to be on the passing side of the football. And it's kind of the Ohio State thing in reverse, right? Where Ohio State is a really good passing team, but a little bit one-dimensional because the run game struggles. Michigan is a really good rushing team, a little bit one-dimensional because the passing game has struggled. All that matters is, do you put those pieces together on the last Saturday in November? It doesn't matter what you've done the weeks prior. What comes together on that Saturday is what's going to determine who wins that game, obviously.
The difference, I would somewhat agree. The difference that I would have is I think Ohio State's rushing game is still significantly better than Michigan's passing game.
That's just not even remotely true.
I stand firm. Here are my thoughts from this Michigan game. And it's not so much the Michigan game itself as much as their season. I just want to throw some numbers at you. Michigan, obviously, they beat Nebraska 34-3. Looks like a dominant victory. Halftime, only up 17-3. Still a decent lead, but for the competition, I would say that's an underperformance. This season, they had small leads against Maryland at halftime, 17-13. They were tied at halftime with Indiana, 10-10. They were barely beating Penn State, 16-14 at half, and they were beating Michigan State 13-7 at half, and then they trailed Rutgers 17-4 in the first half. To me, that is a concern. I think when you're facing that talent of those teams, it's easy to overcome, and I think Michigan's done an amazing job in the second half of making those adjustments and coming out. But you just can't do that when you play in Ohio State. You can't do that when you get into the playoffs. You can do that against the Big Ten because the Big Ten West is absolute garbage.
You can't do what? You can't have the game close at halftime and then blow them out in the second half?
I don't think they can. I don't think they're going to blow those teams out. I don't think that it's going to be a close game. If Michigan comes out and performs how they have in the first half, like those games, good teams are going to take advantage way more than an Indiana team or a Rutgers team or a Michigan State team. Penn State's the only one I look at and I go, it doesn't surprise me that was a close game. Maryland 17-13, Indiana being tied after what I just watched Ohio State do to them, going in and having watched numerous Rutgers games this year, and we scored 17 points on you guys in a half. That's like our season total of points, and we scored it in a half. I'm not saying that it's not something that Michigan can't clean up. I'm just saying if I'm looking at this Michigan team and I'm going, okay, I'm getting ready to game plan for them. What is a way that I can beat them? And I go, you have to step on their throats that first half. You have to go in and take advantage of the sloppy play, and you have to take advantage of all your opportunities, and you can't let it be close because they're going to make the adjustments in the second half, and they're going to get it together. But it's weird. That first half.
It's weird because I thought games were 60 minutes, not 30, and that's interesting. I think I'd rather have a narrow lead at the half than trail Penn State late, then play around with 1-8 Northwestern, and then trail Notre Dame for half the game at home.
Notre Dame's good now.
Notre Dame is not good, my guy.
Are they ranked in the top 25?
I'm not concerned.
Are they ranked in the top 25?
I'm not concerned with Michigan having to make halftime adjustments because this is Michigan's game plan. It's the same game plan we saw at Ohio State for the Ohio State game last year. And Michigan, really, you saw this. This was one of the good things that I did enjoy about the Nebraska game, as boring as it was. Michigan is just committed to doing what they do. So you take a 17-3 lead at the half. And I'm pretty sure for like the entire third quarter, I think Michigan had one drive. And you just watch the offensive line just bully these poor, tired defensive backs.
Nebraska.
This poor, tired defensive line. I think that's what Michigan wants to do. That's what Michigan's going to do. That's why this type of strategy works. And what I saw last year from the Ohio State game was, hey, that strategy worked. Hassan Haskins just scored another rushing touchdown while we were recording this episode. So I am curious at what the game will look like because it does. Fandoms aside, it really does depend on can Ohio State start fast and force Michigan into a position where they've got to really amp up the offense? Can Michigan's defense cause some havoc and then start controlling the ball?
Well, and
I obviously think that they can, but that's going to be the big question.
Well, and that's something to think about as well, because even if Ohio State can't necessarily shut Corum down as much as we would like, if Ohio State comes out swinging and they come out fast and they get a 14, 17-point lead, it's going to force McCarthy to throw the ball, and that's right where the passing game comes into play.
And that's some of what, I mean, even though I wouldn't say Michigan started fast necessarily, but when Michigan got that 2-score lead on Ohio State and it forced Ryan Day to either adjust the game plan or to be stubborn about it, it threw him into a really tough predicament. That's the type of position, if you are Ohio State, you want Michigan to be in, where you go, we're going to make you pass the ball on us. Now, I don't think that they can do that, but that's the game plan, right? Make McCarthy beat you. I happen to think Michigan can make those adjustments. And that's why we play the game, right? Next week's going to be real interesting. Looking ahead to Illinois, update me on Chase Brown.
Yeah, so I saw this.
I did not catch this, and that's a pretty significant development.
I saw this today. I have not seen an official, he is for sure listed as out.
So we're just spewing rumors.
No. This is a thing that happened. He has just not been updated.
Okay.
But he did go down late in the game against Purdue. A reporter on the sideline, his brother obviously on the team as well, in tears after seeing the injury, which is never a good sign. The head coach at the time, this was a day or so ago, and we're recording this on Monday. There were no updates given by the coach on whether or not he was available, what anything looked like.
It's a big question mark.
It's a huge question mark coming into the game. So he could play, he could not.
No, that's a good update. I apologize that I missed that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it affects who wins the game, but it obviously affects the flow of the game, because Chase Brown is a really good running back.
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
I don't think he's as good as he was made out to be. I think if you see his production over the last 6 weeks, it just slowly kind of tails down, and Michigan's got the #1 rush defense in the country. I do think, here's where I think Michigan could be exposed a little bit, is as good as the defense has been, if Tommy DeVito has a clean pocket, I think that could cause issues for Michigan. This is kind of, in my mind, it's diet Ohio State a little bit. Not in the sense that I think Illinois is comparable to Ohio State, but I think strategy-wise, if Michigan can put pressure on DeVito, force him out of the pocket, get to him, Illinois doesn't have a shot. If he gets a clean pocket and starts picking you apart, I'm concerned, not just because that game suddenly gets interesting, but because if we can't put pressure on him against Illinois, can we get through and put pressure on Stroud against Ohio State? I mean, the David Ojabo, Aiden Hutchinson, show last year is a huge reason why Michigan won that football game.
Oh yeah.
If we struggle on Saturday to get pressure, I'm going to be very concerned, not just about that game, but about what's to come. That's what Illinois is going to have to get DeVito a clean pocket. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
He can make some plays. If he starts torching Michigan's secondary, hold on to your butts. I don't think that he will do that. I've got 38-20 Michigan winning this game. Illinois puts up a few points, but not enough. Not nearly enough to hang with them.
Okay.
What stupid thing are you about to say?
Illinois is coming off 2 pretty bad losses.
Please stop.
They've lost to Michigan State and they've lost to Purdue. Chase Brown potentially out with an injury. They're not called the Fighting Illini for nothing. Give me 27-24. Let's go, Illinois. Little spoiler alert, that's also my upset pick of the week.
We've said some dumb stuff on this podcast over the years. This might be near the top.
Hey, we'll talk on Monday next week about it.
There is no world in which Michigan's getting beat by Illinois.
Okay.
My gosh.
Till it happens this Saturday at noon on ABC.
Okay. By the way, we'd be remiss to not mention that the Big Ten West race is an absolute train wreck.
I don't even want to try to explain it.
Here's the short version. Minnesota, Illinois, Purdue, and Iowa are all 4-3 in the conference and are all currently tied for first place in the West.
Awful.
Again, that's Minnesota, Illinois, Purdue, and Spencer Petras, Iowa are tied for first in the Big Ten West. Right now, Minnesota technically holds the tiebreaker.
Whoever goes to the Big Ten championship from that, it is going to be just a slaughtering. Yeah. It is going to be so bad.
I can tell you right now that if Michigan goes, my hope is Iowa.
Same. If it's Ohio State, please.
If you had to pick a team from the Big Ten West to win, if Ohio State were going to lose, if Michigan were going to lose for me, if your rival was going to the Big Ten championship, which of those Big Ten West teams would you want them to play?
I want Illinois again, but I want only if I'm confident Chase Brown is in.
You would want Michigan to play at Chase Brown, Illinois.
Yeah.
I think I want Minnesota for you.
That's fine.
I think I want Mo Ibrahim.
That's fine.
I think that's who I'd want. It won't matter because Michigan
or Ohio State
blow out any of those teams. But let's go Iowa. Am I right? Can I get? I was gonna say, can I get a something? But I don't know what their cheer is. Can I get a wave?
Yeah, sure.
A wave, Iowa. Do they spell out corn like OHIO? CORN. Like,
that would be the most exciting part of an Iowa football game.
You already gave your stupid genius pick this week. By the way,
say it again?
You can give your predictions at RivalPod on Twitter or 1049 The River on Instagram. You can say it again. Your upset pick of the week.
They're not going to probably be ranked because we record these on Monday, so the rankings will be updated.
Illinois ain't going to be ranked.
They're not going to be ranked, but as of now, they're number 21. I got them taking down those Wolverines. Let's go.
Cool.
27-24, last second field goal.
That's great. Okay. Be still my beating heart. I'm going to take Baylor over TCU.
No, I should root for it.
3-point dogs, which surprises me a little bit because Baylor's like 6-4, but only 3-point dogs at home. Here's why. Number one, there's not a lot of great upset potential. I was going to take Austin Peay over Alabama, but thought maybe no. You decided you could take Austin Peay over Alabama, but Illinois over Michigan.
I just wanted to get a little bit.
It makes sense, Jesus.
The game is next week. I have to get you riled up a little bit.
It's working. No, I think TCU coming off a huge win at Texas where there was a lot of pressure on them to prove it. This to me, this is the definition of a trap game, right?
Okay.
They're looking at the Big 12 championship. I believe their berth is already clinched.
Yeah, it is. After beating Texas, they're in.
So they've got a Big 12 championship berth clinched. They just won the biggest game on their schedule to date. They knew the pressure was on, prime time, on the road, all those things. They checked all the boxes. Now you get a 6-4 Baylor team, and that is exactly the type of trap game material in weird Waco, Texas. I've got Baylor winning this one.
The disrespect to the Horned Frogs is crazy. It's crazy because you say that Texas was their biggest game, but they've beat Kansas, they beat Oklahoma State, they beat Kansas State, they beat Texas. I
hear a lot of teams that start with Kansas.
They're all ranked. They won four. They won like 4 ranked games in a row.
Notre Dame is a quality win.
It is a quality win. Get out of here. Tougher than anybody Michigan played.
Finally, not a lot of movement this week, but give me your. I'm gonna just ignore that comment. Not a lot of movement in the college football playoff. Again, we're recording this before the rankings come out.
We will get together on Tuesday night though, and join that. If you missed it, you can go back and watch it at Rival
Got
Pod.
It recorded. Give me your top 6. Just run through them real quick.
Okay. I got Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, TCU 4, Tennessee 5.
And then this is the question mark.
6. I know last week I had Alabama. They barely escaped again. I am going to go LSU this time.
That is what it is likely to be. I don't love it.
Yeah.
I like USC there. I
am excited for that game this weekend.
USC UCLA should be a delight. Here's my reason real quick. USC, their loss is a 3-point loss to Utah. That's it. LSU has a big win over Alabama. I get it. They also lost to Florida State to start the year, and they had a 27-point loss to Tennessee. You can't tell me the number 6 team in the country is the team that lost by 4 scores to the number 5 team. I can't buy that.
After you get past 5, though, it is like just mix them in and out. However, it's not going to really.
It will sort itself out. Now it gets interesting if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC title game. That becomes a whole thing.
Yeah. If TCU loses at all, that opens up the door for maybe both Ohio State and Michigan.
If you're Michigan and Ohio State, there are a lot of scenarios where the loser of that game still makes the playoff. There's a lot of scenarios where that works.
Which is crazy to think about.
There's also a lot of scenarios where the loser of that game gets left out, where you could go 11-1, lose to a top 3 team in the country, and get left out of the playoff. So the main goal of next week, don't lose. And then this week too, it would probably be good to
also
not.
helps
Also,
for-
don't lose to Illinois or Maryland. That's just a good rule for life, kids. Don't lose to Illinois or Maryland. Thanks for subscribing to the Rivalry Podcast on Twitter at RivalPod, on Instagram at 1049 The River. Enjoy the games this weekend.
See ya.
The Rivalry is a production of River Radio Ministries. Want live updates from the show? Follow us on Twitter at RivalPod for live tweets, score predictions, contests, and more. And make sure to follow us wherever you're listening now for new episodes every Wednesday. And if you like what you're hearing, tell a friend so they can listen too.